Welcome to the Billion Dollar Builder, the podcast that dives deep into the world of mega construction projects worth over $1 billion. I'm your host, Mark Bodner. With over 50 years of experience working on iconic projects, I've seen it all, well, just about all. Today, we're going to explore the role of technology in delivering large projects. Get ready to uncover the hidden truths of the construction industry and learn how to navigate its biggest challenges. This episode is brought to you by 4C Consulting, your partner in construction technology enablement. When you're facing a complex project, need expert guidance, 4C Consulting is here to help you cut through the chaos. Visit www.4cteam.com and mention Billion Dollar Builder for a free consultation on your requirements. Now, let's take a look at another crucial aspect of managing mega projects. I am excited to welcome our special guest today, Don Price. Don is the CEO of 4C Consulting with over 35 years of experience selecting and implementing PMIS, Project Management Information Systems, on projects and programs. He's here to share invaluable insights on construction technology enablement. So, Don, what would you say is the most important thing about a project management information system for executing large mega projects?
Well, I think that selecting the right product for your program, right? I mean, I think that there's many different products on the market, and making sure that you're selecting one that can manage the mega projects is critical. A lot of tools out there can manage smaller, small government entity types of things, or small construction, general construction. But when you're looking at a mega project, you really have to look at a tool that's capable of managing the entire collaboration of the organization that's involved in the project. I think that's a key point in making sure that you got everybody participating so that all of the information related to the program is in one system. So it's critical to make sure that you're looking at a tool that's matches the size of your program.
How do you select the right tool? What's the criteria?
Well, I think there's a lot of different things, right? I think, just even what I just talked about, the fact of being able to manage the life cycle of what your program entails, right? If you're looking at something that you just want to manage costs, there's tools for that. If you want to look at a tool that's managing your design side of it for just, architectural drawings and things, there's tools for that. But if you're looking to manage the entire life cycle and really be able to manage all of the players and maintain the information for the life of the project and the afterlife of the project, right? Not only maybe the closeout, the litigation side of it, if there is, but also just the ongoing maintenance of your project. So making sure that you got a tool that can carry forward and bring that information through to all of the processes that you may take the project to.
I've heard from a lot of potential clients that it's cost prohibitive to put in place a project management information system. How do you evaluate the return on investment?
Yeah, it's not cost prohibitive when you end up having a claim or something along the lines of, misdirected or the wrong materials installed or something like that. That's where the costs really run offline for any program, right? So making sure that you understand that the risks that you have on the project without a cost management or without a project management information system. Because
so
it's
an offset. It's an offset basically of mistakes and costs that you shouldn't have to absorb.
Issues, mistakes, lack of communication, wrong communication, misalignment of resources, right? Not having the right teams on the project at the right time. All of those things play into the cost benefit of the tool selection, and typically are easily offset on the cost of the system.
What would you consider a budget for a mega project when it comes to, let's say it's a 4 years, $4 billion project? What would the anticipated cost should it be? What should you budget for it?
Well, I think from a cost just for software, there's many different parts of the budget, right, for managing project management information system. You've got the cost of the software. You've got the cost of the resources on your team that would be required in the initial process, as well as the management of it through the life cycle of the program. You've got the cost of the implementation and services. So, I think that if you're looking at if you're looking at it for a single project, you're probably in that $3 to $5 million range between software and resources. If you're looking at an enterprise solution for managing your capital budget for years to come, you're probably more in that $10 million range of total budget. And again, I'm looking at that from your internal cost, all of the resources that you have in your company that you're going to allocate to the project, from the software side of it, getting the requirements done, getting the implementation of the tool done, going through the acceptance, going through the training and testing and all of those parts and pieces, as well as the software costs, as well as the implementation partner that you would be using to do those things. That total cost would be in that number, or that rough order of magnitude.
Is there a challenge managing your client's internal resources? From
the standpoint of the owner that's buying the software or running the program, yeah, absolutely. I think that they usually what you're running into, most companies will approach it and look at it from adding this activity to the person's current role. You've got to look at it different ways, right? There have to be people that are actually allocated to the implementation and management of the solution through the project. So whether it be administrators on the software or whether it be subject matter experts in the upfront setup and requirements, right? Even if you're buying a system that's configurable or even has out-of-the-box capabilities, there's still going to be adjustments for mega programs, right? You've got uniquenesses, and you want to have your people who are going to be responsible for those activities involved. So making sure they've got an allocation to the project through the requirements and through the configuration, and actually supporting in the deployment or the rollout of it to the organization that's going to be using it. So I think managing that, making sure that you've got allocation set up and commitment of your internal resources to work alongside your SI, your system implementer.
Yeah, I think you've actually answered my next question, which was how do you resolve those issues, those challenges, and I guess most clients hand it off to an individual who has another job, like a project manager, and it's really very overwhelming.
It creates a challenge for that resource, right? That person's challenged on their deliverables on both sides, the project for what they're managing, as well as the project for the implementation of the product.
So in your experience, what are some of the key aspects of a successful implementation?
I think that the number one that I tell every client that I talk to, you got to have executive sponsorship, right? There's got to be somebody there to say, this is the final way it is, right? You've got to have somebody who's cheerleading the team. You've got to have somebody who's recognizing the effort that's going into it and making it known to the organization that this is the methodology or the tool or the processes we're going to use. So having that executive sponsor / cheerleader is probably the most critical piece of the success of a program like this, implementing a PMIS on a mega project.
Is there a challenge in an executive like that understanding what you're even doing in the organization with their team?
Yeah, I think that, once you get the ear of a C-suite person that understands it, it's not usually a challenge. I think that there's, once they understand the risk to their program or the risk to their implementation, I think it's pretty easy to get them on board and get them behind it. I think that I'd say the one thing that I probably experience the most is that they're moving on to the next program or the next project or something. And so you get 2 years into the program and your executive sponsor changes and stuff. So making sure you've got that ability to not only have an initial executive sponsor, but that you bring that, that you're always looking for that, the plan to bring the next person up and have that continued sponsorship.
I would imagine that has a similar impact on the implementation if the team changes in the midst of a deployment.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that?
Yeah, I think that's probably when you're looking at mega projects, you're looking at a multi-year activity, right? I mean, people get promoted, people have personal situations that cause them to leave. You've got, different projects that have higher priorities, maybe that come into play, critical ones for, maybe you're working at a utility company and something, the winter storms are excessive and the team gets distracted from that. So, making sure that you've got that commitment and you've got the redundancy, if you will, making sure there's backup team players and SMEs that can support each other and back up their areas, definitely is critical through the life of the program, because it does. I mean, we all have to accept it, right? I mean, people move on for whatever reason it may be. Maybe promotion opportunities, maybe personal, it may be company requirements. You're going to have resource changes. So making sure you've got a coverage plan that is available there to cover your resources and the movement of your resources.
I would imagine it's also a good idea to document earlier decisions so that if someone new comes on board with a different idea, it potentially is a change in scope. It could affect your schedule. It could affect the scope
and I think
you're doing.
that comes from that executive sponsor side of it also, right? You absolutely, every decision has to be documented. You've got to have a good partner who's willing to capture that information. You have to be able to be committed to your partner and listen to your partner also from the standpoint of, this is why we went this path early on. You guys made this decision based on this. We gave you this guidance to go here.
Right.
Now if we change that, you're going to have this disruption to your program. So, making sure that the decisions are documented. The justification of the reasons behind it are understood too, right? Because that'll come back into play as you get into those changes of resources and different sponsors or whoever it may be. Those conversations have to be rehabbed and revisited sometimes. I mean, sometimes there's reason to make a change, right? There may be, maybe there's a merger of companies, right? Maybe a company acquires another business unit and we have to adapt to that. So, I mean, I've been on programs where, you start with 3 business units and by the time you're finished with the project 2 years later, you got 5 to 7 business units that are now part of the company as they've acquired they've had different acquisitions over the year, that they bring those into place. So you're looking at that and you're having to adjust. And I think that's one of the keys of making sure that you're looking at a product that has that flexibility, right? I mean, it's not just about, you're changing your team and you have these new requirements. It's also about, do I have the right product to support that? Do I have the product that's going to get me through those changes in the organization, the changes in the climate, the changes in the business? I mean, so many different things play into this. So making sure that you have the right solution to work with you and change with you is very important on that. But yeah, I mean, you can't control change.
Right. Okay. I imagine it's a challenge even within a single business unit to get consensus on how the system should be set up. How do you deal with that?
Well, and I think that, it starts with the executive sponsor, but it also starts with a PMO structure, right? Making sure that you got the project management office set up to be that ratifying body that is accountable for when those changes come up, they're reviewed, they're agreed to, or they're denied, or whatever they may be. Having that structure in place to allow that to happen for the right reasons, is really truly managed through the sponsor, the executive sponsor, as well as a PMO. So making sure you've got that structure up front. Yes, having all those SMEs, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be arm wrestling. There's going to be differences of opinion. All those things will always play into making this program successful, right? And you want to have that healthy conversation. You want to have the healthy debate. But you also have to have a structure in place that can make the final decision and ratify the decision and also control the change.
If you're currently dealing with a massive claim or find yourself in the thick of litigation, don't forget to check out our website. There you'll find our comprehensive questionnaire that can serve as your roadmap to resolution. Remember, the right information can save you millions in litigation costs. Okay, can you discuss integration across the entire project life cycle, from feasibility to asset and management and everything in between?
So are you talking, you're talking from the life cycle of the program, not integration with other solutions, right? I mean, just to be
well, the
fair.
life cycle of I imagine the life cycle of the program goes beyond just managing the project. You got financial interests, you got feasibility studies that take place, you got estimating that may or may not be in the PMIS, and all the way to inventory control and supply chain management, all that stuff. To me,
the facilities maintenance cycle, right?
Right. Yeah, the facility life cycle. So to me, it is what you just suggested. It's really integrating other systems And in today's day and age, I imagine the software enables that through APIs. I don't even know what that means really. What does that stand for? API.
So that's the reality is you've got the whole thing. You've got the life cycle of a program, right? There's a conceptual idea, right? There's that feasibility study, all of those parts and pieces that typically don't happen in your PMIS system, but it's somewhere, some part of that life cycle or that project, that data is required at some level. Whether it be the cost of the feasibility you want to capture in the cost system, or whether it be the outcome of the decisions and why you're choosing different locations or different structure types or finishes or what have you. From all those pieces have to feed in and can be stored within your PMIS. You touched on another one, estimating. Many times a PMIS system doesn't have an estimate. It usually estimates a very, specific task during the project, or a specific group that does that, and the information is critical, but it's not typically the execution side of the program, right? So you've got that information that you want to be able to pull into it. Maybe it's at the same level of cost management you're doing. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's different levels. So making sure that you've got a solution that does, the technology does allow for that integration, have those, out of the box connectors, the APIs or what have you. Mm-hmm. And, also, as we touched, right, the life cycle of the facility, when you get down to supporting that facility over the next 30 years of the life of that structure, right? Or that building or whatever it may be, pipeline or whatever, right? You've got to understand what was put into it, what was, who built what pieces of it, what was the original design, what was, what are the parts and pieces I need to maintain, what's the warranty on some of those items. And having the right PMIS system to store that, but also the right system that can share that information. Because usually you don't see a entire life cycle available PMIS, right? You really have the core of managing the program. You have the core of managing the facility after the fact, and you have the upfront work typically.
And so you have the organ, especially in an enterprise environment. You've got the ERP or the HR system. You've got all kinds of information residing in other places, and I imagine integration is a large part of that.
Yeah, and or required by other systems, right? Not just are you wanting data from their system. There's data in your PMIS that they want, right? They want to understand when is the cash call due, right? When do I need to get more cash in the bank for this situation? When do I, maybe I'm working on a rate case for a utility. When does that asset go into usability, right? When does that turn on and I can start to gain revenue from it, or when does it start to depreciate? All of those things matter in your ERP system, but not. So you've got to have that ability to pass data back and forth. So it's very critical all the way through from all of your systems. And you may not be thinking about that today, right? You may be thinking about just how do I manage this program, but think about your stakeholders that are outside of your system and what information you may need from them and what information they may need from you as you make that decision about your tool.
And with regard to, I want to change direction a little bit on this conversation. I know that cloud is everywhere nowadays. Everybody is using the cloud. You go banking with your cell phone, you shop on your cell phone or your computer. Is there a preference when it comes to your clients with regard to whether they host it or you host it? And I suppose if you host it, it's in the cloud. So what's the client's preference most of the time?
I think that's one thing, you sort of touched on cloud as sort of a nebulous term, right? Because whether I'm hosting it for you and putting it in my cloud, or whether, your system provider is hosting it in their cloud, or whether you're bringing it into your own, if you will, cloud, you're putting it in a data center and you're having people access it via the URL and www, right? The data's still there and it's still in the cloud. So I think that most of the environments we've gotten to the point where cloud is acceptable because there's so many things like SOC 2, right? Or ISO 27001 in Europe and what have you. These things are in place to make sure that the provider you're using has put together the way to manage and protect your data as best possible, right? I mean, we know there's hackers all the time going after anything and everything, including our government's data, right? I mean, so we know that happens, but you've got to be protected, and you have to have firewalls in place to protect that. But yeah, I think that I would say that 90% of clients today that I work with are absolutely, there's not even a question of going cloud or on-premise anymore, right? I think that there's still a challenge for some companies where on-premise may be required for capitalization of a software, right? It just depends on how they're approaching the acquisition of the product, and whether they want to have it, permanently, if they want to, be able to move it to something different in the future. I think there's a lot of points that come into there, but I think today, we're all so used to using everything. Our own personal information is floating around everywhere, right? So whether you're on a social media platform or whether you're on a corporate enterprise system, your data is flowing and moving.
I'm going to ask you a question at the risk of asking a self-serving question. What is your favorite project management information system tool in the marketplace today, if you have one?
You're putting me on the spot, Mark. Well, I've been working with an Oracle product since 2002. So it's definitely where myself and our company has taken a leadership role in the implementation of the Oracle Unifier, or, your Oracle Unifier, along with Primavera, the Primavera suite of products. I see those as very capable of especially when you get into mega, right? I mean, like I said earlier, there's other products out there, but really focusing on the mega project or program, Unifier to me really gets into that capability. And don't get me wrong, there's still open areas for other tools that you want to tie into that. I mean, whether it be like we talked about your estimating solution, or maybe you have a different corporate repository and feeding it to your corporate repository. So but from what I've experienced so far, Unifier, with its configurability, the flexibility, and now they even have a lot of things that are out of the box, including, as you touched on earlier, even integrations that come out of the box that integrate with their ERP systems or, other tool sets. They've got the platform that has recipes built for many different tools, not just Oracle products, but other products too to interface. So I really, have probably built my latter career around that product.
Okay, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just wanted your take and your opinion, since you've been doing this for so many years.
There's other good products out there, and I don't want to downplay the other products. My experience has been pretty successful with the Unifier product.
Okay. Do you have are there any other points that you'd like to make that I haven't raised?
Oh, goodness. I think you've touched on a lot of good things. I mean, I think that, we've got, as I touched on there just a second ago, there are areas that aren't fully complemented with the products on the market. And, for 4C Consulting, we've started a sister company called 4C Innovations. And 4C Innovations actually has brought to market a capability that is actually a bolt-on to Unifier, and extends it for a much deeper, larger capability for forecasting. We've experienced over the 20 years that I've been in 20 plus years that I've been doing this capability, the larger companies, and when they're putting this in as an enterprise solution, a lot of their focus is on the financial spend and when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what projects are happening, what's their, again, the cash management. So we've actually built out, in 4C Innovations, we built out a product called CURA Forecasting. And CURA Forecasting allows companies who are very comfortable in their spreadsheet, because that's what you find out, right? A lot of the cost engineers and stuff, project managers, like to work in a spreadsheet, fill and move data and adjust it and see the impact of it. So we've actually taken a capability and mirrored a very much a look and feel of a spreadsheet, but made it intelligent database also, right? And has the interface directly to Unifier and other systems, right? Whether it's to your ERP system or your your cash call systems or whatever it may be. There's a lot of different tools on the market today. I don't want to necessarily put names out there, but interfacing to those tools to feed that forecast so that the companies can make the decisions on the prioritization of projects or the spend of their monies, right? Because, I mean, we all know, cash is king and money costs money, right? So if we're not managing it well, we're losing. So I think that a lot of the mega programs or, these larger enterprise companies and entities that have long life cycles and or, managing hundreds of $1,000,000 a year or billions of dollars a year in construction really need to have that ability to see when and where the money's going. And so we've moved into that capability to help. And many of our Unifier clients are moving to it as an addition to Unifier to be able to take it to that next level of forecasting and cash management. We're excited about it. Obviously, we're filling a gap. It's giving us a different opportunity. As well, we see other capabilities that we will have coming down the road that, take a couple of the other soft spots, I'll call it, in the products because, even CURA forecasting isn't tied only to Unifier. CURA forecasting actually can be a standalone product or it can also be tied to any other PMIS system, the way we've structured it. So we've got other capabilities where we see a softness in the market and, we're growing that CURA capability to fill some other soft areas in the market too.
Over the past 50 years, I've worked on more iconic mega projects worth over $1 billion each than anyone else in the construction industry. After climbing the corporate ladder to become a project executive, the most impactful thing I've learned is that there's 1, a lack of communication, 2, inconsistencies in operating procedures, and 3, a lack of technology enablement. This results in billions of dollars of unnecessary construction costs and millions of dollars in litigation. The sad truth is that most projects over $500 million will likely end up in litigation. And if you're the poor attorney or claims consultant stuck in the middle of this mess, you may benefit from my ability to get to the bottom of the project's history. For over 50 years, I've used my experience to tell the true story of a project's history, resulting in millions of dollars in litigation cost savings and expedited resolutions of claims. If you understand what I'm talking about, you're probably in over your head in litigation or a massive claim. Below, you'll find a list of questions that will at the very least provide a roadmap for what I'll need to know to help you settle your claim and report massive successes to your constituents. Click the link below and we'll ask just a few questions that will help you identify how to overcome your claims challenges. Remember, the right information can save you millions in litigation costs. Okay, I know I mentioned earlier your company's website. Is there a particular avenue for a viewer to get in touch with you and maybe get your advice?
Our website's the best spot to reach out to us. It's got all of our contact information on there, and I think you said, you'll see that posted here, but www.4cteam.com, the number 4, the letter C, team.com. And, and then also you'll be able to launch from there into the 4C Innovations website also and be able to see more about our technology side of our company and the products that we have on market today.
All right, very good. Well, I thank you very much for your time. It's much appreciated. I hope you got something out of it as well.
Yeah, I enjoy talking about the technologies and the implementation and the benefits it brings to projects. I mean, that's exciting to me. Obviously, I've been doing it for a while, and I love to see the result of a company getting those benefits, and whether it be just the collaboration side of it, because getting people talking and sharing information, that's probably been the biggest hurdle for years. Right? And so these tools bring that together, and being able to pass information and share information across all of the different organizations, it's just a huge benefit. So I love seeing that.
Okay, well, very good. Thanks a lot, Don.
All right.
Maybe we'll bring you back for another deeper dive in some particular topic.
Would love to see that.
Okay, great. Thanks
All
again.
right. Thank you very much.
Coming up on our next episode, we'll be doing an even deeper dive into this topic with a construction attorney's perspective on the matter. If you're involved in project management, claims, or construction litigation, you won't want to miss it. Subscribe now to ensure you don't miss out on insights that could save your project and your organization's bottom line and increase your profits. Thanks for listening. That wraps up today's episode of The $1 Billion Builder. Remember, in the world of mega projects, knowledge isn't just power, it's money in the bank. If you're knee-deep in a dispute or you're just embarking on a new mega project in its early stages, check out our questionnaire at cmx.llc. It could be your first step toward a successful project or claim resolution. Until next time, this is Mark Bodner reminding you that every project has a story. Make sure you know how to tell it.